Chapter 116. Valgrind crossed her arms just below her chest, glaring at Rimuru, who was being brought to the castle, his arms bound by chains crafted by seal. "Do you have any idea how long you were gone?" Her tone was cold, clearly tinged with anger. Rimuru, however, didn't appear the least bit frightened. Instead, he laughed sheepishly. "Ah, sorry about that. We lost track of time and we didn't realize until Seal broke in." Seal, who held the end of the chains, remained silent. "Hey, Seal," Rimuru asked, turning toward her, "can I get out of these chains now? I've already reflected and apologized." "Master needs to learn some restraint," Seal commented, her gaze shifting to Valgrind, who gave a slight nod. Seal then undid the chains, and Rimuru quickly stretched his body, relieved. "Right, now that the theatrics are over," Rimuru began, rubbing his wrists. "Any new updates since I've been gone?" Valgrind sighed and gestured for them to follow her. The demonesses arrived safely with the children. Though Shizu was a bit tired from the journey, they made it. The construction of the city in the marshes is showing good progress. Abiru, the leader of the lizardmen, suggested taming the wild wyverns they discovered during their work. Wyverns. Rimuru recalled them briefly, remembering they were weaker than lesser dragons. In his mind, they were simply tiny flying lizards. "Did you approve?" "Yeah," Valgrind responded. "They could be useful in the future. Besides, the lizardmen can use them as transportation between here and the marshes." Rimuru nodded in agreement. With the wyverns carrying supplies, they could easily traverse the marshes and the paved road, delivering goods to the capital in less time than it would take to travel between the cities. "Let's build an airport here, it can become an air supply route," Rimuru suggested, an idea from Earth coming to mind. "Have the marsh city build one as well. Actually, the other city should have one, too." Seal took note of his suggestion, sending a message to Rigurd to have the airports built. "Speaking of which, Master, Orc King Geld arrived, as you ordered. He's on his way to the capital." Rimuru smiled at the news. "Good, let's make those orcs happy, shall we?" Later, in the throne room, Rimuru stood before Geld, the Orc King, and his entourage of chiefs from various settlements. The air was thick with anticipation. "Is this true, Master Rimuru?" Geld asked, his hands trembling slightly as he held up the official papers that confirmed Orbic was now officially part of Rimuru's territory. The paper was more of a formality, but it served as proof that they were now under Rimuru's protection. Rimuru gave a reassuring smile, patting Geld on the shoulder. "Of course, you've been a great help to us, and the orcs who came to assist with the construction have been crucial to our development." Geld exhaled deeply, his shoulders relaxing as a wave of relief washed over him. His eyes glistened with tears as he looked up at Rimuru, his voice breaking with emotion. "I serve Master Rimuru. We, the entire orc race, are indebted to you. We will make sure we don't disappoint you." Without hesitation, Geld dropped to his knee, bowing deeply in reverence. The other orcs followed suit, their faces filled with joy and respect. They, too, knelt before Rimuru, their hearts swelling with gratitude. The realization that they were now officially part of Rimuru's territory, under his leadership, was a moment of profound significance for them. Rimuru nodded proudly at their actions, his gaze shifting between the orcs. "With that said," he began, his voice firm yet kind, "let us begin our discussion about turning Orbic into a major trade center between the forest and the demon lords to the south." He gestured for them to follow as he led them out of the throne room. The group entered a smaller chamber, still large enough to accommodate everyone. Unlike the throne room, there was no grand seat awaiting him. Instead, a massive table stood in the center of the room, covered with a detailed map of the entire continent. The map was breathtaking in its scope, showcasing every country and major city, down to the smallest of settlements. Even the cities of the East Empire were accurately recorded. "Orbic already has a large city," Rimuru said, his finger tracing a path over the orcs' territory. "The crops from the orcs are showing great results, and that's excellent. But I want to focus more on the construction of a section of the capital of Orbic." "And what might this be, Master Rimuru?" Geld inquired, his eyes narrowing in concentration as he listened intently. Rimuru continued, "It doesn't have to be the capital itself, perhaps a little distance away, just enough space to create a small city or a large town. This would be the designated trading area with Demon Lord Carrion." Before anyone could respond, one of the chief orcs raised his hand. Rimuru gave a slight nod, gesturing for him to speak. "If I may, Rimuru-sama," the chief began, his voice steady, "why can't we just incorporate these functions into the capital itself? Rimuru considered the question for a moment, then replied thoughtfully, "That's a valid point. The capital of Orbic is designed to be a place where families with large croplands can settle. Orcs don't have the concept of currency, so trade won't significantly impact the economy. A dedicated trade area will ensure the daily lives of the orcs aren't disrupted." He turned to Geld, who was listening intently. "The trade itself is relatively simple, goods exchanged between several places. But if we place it within the capital, the flow of commerce could interfere with the lives of your people." Geld nodded, understanding the concern, but he added, "My people and I simply want to keep our families safe and well fed." His voice softened as he spoke, the weight of past hardships lingering in his words. "We've faced harsh environments, and for so long, we haven't been part of any major territories. All we desire is comfort and peace." The room fell silent for a moment as Geld's words echoed in the air. The orcs had always been survivors, wary of magical beasts, famine, and the constant threats from demon lords. It was one of the reasons they had come to Rimuru for protection, an assurance that they no longer had to live in fear. Gratitude ran deep within them, not only for the safety Rimuru offered, but for the opportunity to stand as equals in his domain. "Good. I'll talk with Carrion to make sure everything runs smoothly," Rimuru said, his voice steady and confident. The orcs all bowed in gratitude, their faces filled with determination. Afterward, they left the room and made their way back to Orbic. There, they immediately set to work on the construction of the trading hub that Rimuru had ordered them to build. Rimuru, not wanting to leave anything to chance, selected some of the more experienced orcs, those who had helped with the construction of Capital Seer. He entrusted them with the task of teaching and advising the others on the best ways to build, ensuring that the structures would be sturdy and well planned. With everything set in motion, Rimuru flew to Carrion's territory, Urizania, to meet with him. He had already sent a message ahead, letting Carrion know that he might arrive within the week. When Rimuru landed, he was met with a warm and welcoming reception. "Rimuru," Carrion called out, his voice booming as he greeted him at the entrance of the castle. "I hear the orcs are now part of your territory." Rimuru shrugged nonchalantly, a small smile tugging at his lips. "It just happened. Why, do you have any complaints?" Carrion's booming laughter filled the air as he slapped Rimuru heartily on the back. "No complaints here. I'm more than happy with how things are going. The orcs have always felt like they were being excluded, but their rapid growth and weaker fighting abilities mean they've often been looked down on around here." Rimuru paused for a moment, recalling Urizania's culture. "Might makes right," he mused aloud. It was a philosophy that had been deeply embedded in the territory's way of life, one that had even helped Carrion become king. In Urizania, fighting was the answer to most disputes. They didn't have the fear of hunger that plagued other territories, as their fertile lands produced an abundance of surplus crops. Carrion's expression shifted slightly, a sly grin spreading across his face. "Though, we do protect them in exchange for their beer and other donations," he added with a wink, his tone playful but knowing. Rimuru chuckled, remembering the rich taste of the orcs' beer. "You're right," he agreed, his eyes gleaming with amusement. "I've tasted it too. It was very delicious, especially when it's cooled." The two continued their casual conversation, exchanging laughs and stories, until Rimuru noticed the tone in Carrion's expression shift slightly. Carrion sat back, picking up the documents Rimuru had presented. He flipped through them thoughtfully. A trading hub in Orbic, and an official trade agreement with the forest. Rimuru nodded. "Yes, exactly. In exchange for your crops, we'll offer wares, clothing, and of course, the orcs' famous beer. Oh, and we've started making our own alcohol, too." He waved his hand, and 2 bottles materialized on the table. He uncorked one and slid it over to Carrion, who eagerly took it and took a long sip directly from the bottle. "Oh," Carrion raised an eyebrow, the taste clearly surprising him. He drained more, savoring the flavor. "This is amazing." Rimuru leaned back in his chair, smirking. "Right, we weren't planning on focusing on food production, but, well, someone likes my cooking so much she insisted we teach others how to make it. Now we have a whole department dedicated to creating new dishes. The wine idea actually came from a visitor we had recently. A good suggestion, if I do say so myself." Carrion grinned, setting the bottle down with a satisfied sigh. "Whoever this friend is, they need a thank you." He wiped his lips, still tasting the wine. "This stuff is incredible." Rimuru's smirk widened. "With your fruits, we could make all kinds of varieties." Carrion leaned back, clearly intrigued. "Sounds like a plan. So, when do we start trading?" Rimuru laughed lightly, shaking his head. Hold your horses, Carrion. We've got details to iron out, the portions, what crops and products are traded, the frequency of exchanges, and, of course, supply and demand in each area. The monthly trade is easy, but those weekly exchanges might get a little tricky depending on harvests and availability. Carrion waved his hand, cutting him off. It's all in the papers, right? He gestured to the stack of documents laid out between them. From quantities to the intervals of major exchanges between Orbic and Eurazania. Rimuru gave a confident nod. Everything's detailed out. He paused, letting a slight grin tug at his lips. Seal made sure of that. I'll let you review it, and then we can tweak anything if needed. Carrion waved it off casually. Nah, I trust you. Rimuru raised an eyebrow, a little puzzled. You sure, you're not gonna look through it? Carrion shrugged with an easy grin. I'll let you handle the details. You've got it covered. Rimuru returned home with a somewhat expected and not expected response at the same time from Carrion. While he expected for him to cave into the agreements, the unexpected part was for him to barely skim through the paper before agreeing to everything. I should have had Seal make it more beneficial for us, he sighed, his eyes scanning the signed agreement between the forest and Eurazania. Guess that's just a miscalculation on my part. He took a detour, heading toward the garden where Ramirez's gate was placed. As he landed, he saw the children, with Shizu, enjoying their chat with the Spirit Queen. Oh my, Ramirez smiled softly when she saw Rimuru approach. You should have come to visit me earlier, you know. Oh, Rimuru-sama, Shizu greeted, noticing Rimuru's confused expression as he walked over. Is something wrong? She tilted her head, puzzled. Ramirez. Rimuru's gaze locked on the Spirit Queen. Since when did you get your original form? Yes, Ramirez, the Queen of Spirits, who had fallen from grace and been forced to live as a pixie for an extended period, had now returned to her original form. She had experienced a cycle of death and rebirth, reincarnating back into a pixie time and time again, until now. Ramirez gave him a cheeky smile. However, instead of appearing childish, her smile now carried a more alluring charm. It was when I was helping the little ones, she said, turning toward the children who were practicing control over their spirits. Helping them obtain spirits triggered my cycle of return. Rimuru mulled it over as he sat down with the two women. Maybe it's because the magicals in this place are so potent. Especially beneficial for spirits, given that it's close to the dwelling of the spirits. That's what I thought as well, Ramirez agreed with his hypothesis. Well done, Rimuru. Rimuru couldn't help but feel a little strange seeing Ramirez in her original form. Just moments ago, he had been interacting with the annoying pixie most people would want to swat away. To now see her so calm and composed was a jarring shift. Rimuru-sama, the children called out to him, their voices full of excitement. Thank you for saving us. Thank you, Rimuru-sama. They echoed in unison. Rimuru raised an eyebrow, glancing at Shizu. Sama. Shizu scratched her cheek awkwardly and laughed. They just kind of followed my lead on how to address you, she explained, glancing at the children. Once they found out you were a demon and the king of this place, I guess that cemented it. Surrounded by the children, Rimuru chuckled at the reasoning behind their newfound formality. He patted their heads, smiling as they excitedly talked about their new strength and control over their spirits. Some even asked him questions about his origins, about being a demon and the king of monsters. To be continued.